knowledge can be opened by a visit such as the one that your students are going to be having, hopefully not just now, but in the future.
Okay, well, I got what I needed.
Then I think you could stretch it a little beyond that. We have an advantage at the Catholic school and the kind of program that we have suggested, where there would be, in fact, what you might call a permanent consultancy between people who are South African, who come from the village, who have an interest and a background academically in teaching, in development and so on. In other words, that's where our different CVs now begin to kind of show up to advantage. And you're permanently there to consult with students when they are here, and you can explain certain things. I like this idea of the possibility of having an informal discussion, between the people as you had in mind. I think it would be a wonderful thing to develop that as not as an instrument, as a method of dialogue. Like you said, you don't have to be at the same level to be able to understand that people are concerned about cough or nutrition or housing. All of those kind of things will come up as you begin to relate to each other, and then perhaps you should think some more about how we can structure that.
Okay, well done. So, in fact, that's why I didn't want you to write this out, because it can be lengthy, and I know you probably chicken out and say you're going to do it, but unfortunately for Mom's sake, and which is a blessing anyway, that it's already this week that she's having this dinner, then we needed to have this done. But I get you. I get it. So at least we understand where we're coming from, and then it's just a matter of structuring it in an email format, and then Mamsi would have a copy, and they'll have a copy, and then we'll see what comes out of that meeting on Wednesday. But for her to also plant that seed that you are willing, if they are willing to bring you over here, that you can see face to face, because by that it will buy you time. I'm sure it's not going to be immediate, but let's see what their schedule is like.
Yeah.
And then let them, then you can sit face to face, because then you really can go back and forth and have the actual, that, because right now all we needed was just, what do you see, what do you think, and then you going back to them, this is what I think, but what do you think, is opening up that in conversation. And then if people are serious, then we know that we already got something that we're working on, and we can move from that standpoint.
Yeah, which is an ongoing kind of.
Absolutely.
It mustn't appear too selfish. In other words, that we're interested in.
Absolutely.
Get out of it.
Absolutely.
But it is more a question of input that is good for its own sake. You talk about so many issues of development that are in our lives. They appear unrelated at the moment. But at the moment you sit around there and you see water running under a bridge, or children drowning, or cattle messing around, or you go to your uncle's place and you see a mixture of cow dung and ducks, eating mud, and it's all of those kind of things that raise issues of why is this thing happening, why is it happening like this and not like that. Those are the subject for discussion.
Okay.
That actually develop.
Yep.
Actually develop relationships and an understanding, a deeper understanding at the level of peers that can lead to, in fact, development of curriculum in future. That doesn't have to be next week or next month when the kids are here, but it's something that points at the things that we need to know about, the things we need to to talk about, and why they're happening. I think we understand each other. I'm glad that we had this conversation because I was a bit confused a bit in trying to be too pedantic about this thing. I think that it is really a question of relationships. How do we pursue them, and how do we next year come back and say there was a Musa here with some colleagues that they came in. Why were they here? And you talk about that, and then you say, hey, maybe there is something that we left out, and maybe in future, so that now the curriculum and the program for the next visit actually gets manufactured from our experience as we see each other. It could be a simple little thing like in a child offering a duck for dinner.
Yeah.
And conversation can take place from the why are you doing this kind of thing? What has it got to do with the relationships with each other, and so on, entertainment. The pity that in fact you won't be able to be here at the time. Well, you might even be able to run into some of these ceremonies, between the schools and the informal part of education here, which is like the whole question of manhood and womanhood and so on, and how it's done, and it gets up to things like initiation and things. There's a whole wealth of things that the kids can learn from just by asking questions, and then we can always find people who can come in and enrich that little thing that they observe there, and so on. So it can actually become a much more interesting than it looks at the moment. Yeah. So I'd like to congratulate you for raising the issue, and I think that you're on the safe bet here.
Okay.
It may look unconventional. It may look unusual, but I think that it is actually the correct way to develop relationships between people.
Yeah.
People across continents.
Yeah.
And I think as we begin to talk about it, it will begin to make sense.
Yeah.
And as it makes sense, we will record it and we'll begin to kind of use those as precedents of. At some point, we have to explain why this dialogue between these kids
was important.
And then how we're able to answer that question, I think, becomes reason for us doing certain things.
Yeah, that's true. Because I think even when you look at history, like I said, the conversations where you guys used to have, that's how SASO grew out of students who just wanted to sit around and just talk around about things. Martin Luther sitting down with his buddies informally saying, hey guys, now you can look back in those dialogues and say, it might not seem like, hey, we're just getting drunk and having a braai, but some substance and people's lives, they were changed forever. You might not know the impact, but just from that alone. Yeah. Okay, well, let me put this together then, and I'll let Mamsi know that what we talked about, and then once I put it together, I'll send it through your Professor Benny Huapa email, so that if you guys can even get access to it, you can actually be able to print it out and see what was written down, so that in your mind you know what they're working with. So even if they decide to make a phone call or email you back, at least you are aware how we put the letter together.
Wonderful. One of these days I'm going to retrieve my written stuff from the junk that is collected as my study now. But you see, what I'm trying to emphasize is that this is not a new idea that we are talking about.
Absolutely not.
There in our heads, but we have not been talking about it in a pointed way like this, so that it can actually emerge as a program that's been raising. So thank you for raising the issue, and I think the way you engaging it at the moment makes a lot of sense. It relieves me from unnecessary struggling with whether we're making sense or not. I think it's extremely important that we become original in our offerings. Original in the sense that I think that one of the things that are not being pursued properly in pedagogy is actually the methods that we use to learn, and how we utilize our knowledge of each other and the environment to benefit growth.
Yeah.
And it is the beginning, I think, of what you might call dialogue.
Yeah. It's something they should continue on after we were dead and gone, but then, it's something like you're saying that's forever going. Yeah. Because sometimes Grand Valley State might appear to be, or even Mommy Valley appear to be the givers, and at some point it might be the other way around. Yeah. So.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, Daddy, let me put this together then. Let me call Momsy, and then at least she can breathe knowing that at least something is forthcoming, and then we can take it from there. Now, here's another question that she had for me was, do you know where your brother is, the youngest one?
Yeah, I know it is.
Okay, now what she was suggesting was, maybe it's something we might have overlooked, but me, my opinion of him is not very high, but it could be flawed. But she was saying, because although he's retired, he might be the person that even when we finally get a contractor over there, since he knows he taught some of this stuff, if he were willing to be around to kind of almost like be I don't want to say a project manager, because I don't want him running people around, but to know that there is somebody who's knowledgeable, so regardless which company you get, who knows what they are doing. So if something is being done incorrectly, or they are cheating, or they're cutting corners, there's somebody who's going to say, wait a minute, this is not it. So she suggested that as if he's willing, and I said my only concern is that he comes with excess luggage, and you might get him and he might think it's an opportunity to run away from the crazy wife, and the crazy wife might decide, oh hell no, I'm following my husband, and then you have World War III. That's my only concern.
Yeah.
He comes with too much baggage.
No, I hear where you're coming from, and I think the potential. You see, the first time it could be a question of how do we get him to relate just to the conversations without necessarily putting him under pressure.
Yeah, you can butter him up. You know how you male egos are. With your knowledge, and I respect your know-how. I know you are laid back and retired right now, but I would so much appreciate it if you could be part of this thing, so that I know that I can trust you. And oh Lord, okay, do what you gotta do, say what you gotta say, and so that at least you have that, because that's very crucial, because at least if they know there's somebody who knows